Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Land, Oceans, and Business podcast. For those tuning in for the first time, welcome to our world of sustainability and business. For those joining in again, welcome back. Today we have Claire Rozain, co founder of Youthwave Games, a mobile games developer doing games in Africa about water scarcity. So, all things gaming, and even better because it has to do with sustainability directly. I'm sure it's going to be an incredible episode. We'll be covering topics from sustainable business to eco gaming trends. And as per usual, we're going to go personal with Claire's sustainability lifestyle, which is always my favorite part. So let's get the session started. Claire, welcome to the Land, Oceans, and Business podcast. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Isabella. I'm really excited to be there, and I'm a big fan of the podcast as well. So thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. So to start, just to give the listeners a grasp of who you are, tell us a bit more about yourself and your business.
Yes, so hello everyone. My name is Claire. I'm the co-founder of Youthwave Games, a studio co-founded with Izine Ibrahima Noura. We are a French Beninese studio and we publish game together. We want to create game not only that entertain the world, but also educate, inspire players and while being entirely developed in Africa or by local talents or games are also speaking about something that is really important for me and for us as a studio, sustainability, including water scarcity. It's a really important topic for us because our current project focus on water scarcity, which is an environmental challenge that affects more than 2.2 billion people across the world, including Africa as well. So I made a trip in Senegal few months ago, and I was in college in Morocco as well, where I saw, the struggle that exists to get access when you're from a small village, for instance, to water. And I felt like in 21st century, it's something we all need to fight against and also know that this exists and team up together to make it better.
Thank you, Claire. Yes, I think water is such a huge thing now, right? They say that water is the new gold. And for me, it's absurd to think that some countries in the world still don't have access to clean water and that are suffering every single day because of this. I really love what you said, how you're creating games that educate and inspire. I feel like in the gaming industry, this is something that sometimes doesn't happen often. Many games are just creating games just for the creation of them, but not with this conscious thought of how we can do something more rather than just have people on their phones or on the screens or with the consoles. So I think that you're doing an incredible job with this. I'm super curious to know, when you say you're creating games about water scarcity, what does that mean inside the game?
Yes, so inside the game, so our first game, which is like 5 months year old, we are a small team of four people. So me, Isdin, Chris, based in Benin, and Reda, based in Maroc. And basically, we started with a Ludo game, which is called Quest of Water. It's going to be a Ludo game that is going to be hybrid casual, meaning 50% ads, but also 50% in-app purchases. And first, we will use one on free ads to redirect to a donation link. But we want to make like the donation seamless to the user. We want to make people want to be involved in what we care a lot about. So we will have a whole narrative in our game speaking about water scarcity. And while the player will play Ludo, it will be a map where you will be able to gain resources as well and get some insight and numbers about water scarcity to increase your awareness also about the topic and also get inspired. Why not to give like not money for us, but basically money directly to the association that are in charge, like in Africa but also in the world, to help and unlock access to water to people. I think, like we decided to be based in Africa because it's something I trust a lot. I think like the next Supercell is going to be in Africa because even if the industry is really young, there is a lot of really sharp talents, but water scarcity is such a word. I was in Barcelona like not even 1 month ago. Some people told me even in Catalonia there is some issue with water access. So I think it's something that a lot of people are still affecting on, which is something essential to survive, that we want to make people aware of, and being really, activist of this by playing.
That's amazing. I personally think it all comes to awareness first, and once you have the awareness, then it's just a matter of learning how to take small steps and small actions. So I think that this is incredible. I personally love this whole idea. And you, Claire, how did you personally become so passionate about sustainability? What's your story behind it?
So, my parents are actually scientists. They began as a researcher, but also teacher, and they always, like made me really cautious about, to use resources, and also important was nature, as my mother was biologist. And I also, been faced to all of this, like my first trip with my sister in China, where we decided to do all the coast, from Shanghai to Peking, by Shenzhen as well, and Xi'an. It was like 10 years ago, so I'm quite old actually, even if I look young. And we saw in those villages all those issues and access to resources, which I think is essential and something that everyone should have access of. When I was in Morocco as well, I saw the same issues in some small villages because I went in college there. And then, not even 2 months ago, I was in Senegal, and once again, like, I saw the big issue that it is right now. We are pushing more and more our resources, and it's not infinite. Business have the responsibility to act and also play a role in the environment, because as we are consuming games, like we are consuming data, we are consuming electricity,
Yeah.
and we need to pay back also to our environment, because it's a really important thing to do, and it's a passion of mine. Even during my early years with my sister, I've been really, excited about how we can impact in a positive way the climate. And I feel like game is the perfect medium to do this. So I'm really excited now to have the opportunity to bootstrap my own studio with Isdin, who is incredible, and also believe with me that first, the next talent are actually in Africa, the next Supercell is in Africa, but also those talents are the ones that are the best to speak and also raise awareness in the world about some deep topics, but still by making the world play and having fun.
Hmm. Yes, I think you said something that really stuck with me, and it's that gaming is a very easy way where you can raise awareness. Right? There are so many different ways you can get so creative around gamings and giving back to the planet. And I think that it is also the responsibility of the game to start doing this, to take one step further the business model for the good of the planet. I really also like what you said, that you have become aware through time, of course, with your parents and your upbringing as well. But I think personally that for sustainability, you have to see where things are wrong to really be able to understand, oh, there's something really wrong in this area of the planet. And I think that for people who are more privileged, for example in the West, it's so easy to be in the bubble, right, and to not get out of there and to not be able to see what there is beyond the issues, the crises. When you maybe when they think about the sustainable development goals, they can't relate. But then, for instance, I'm Colombian, right? So for me, I really grew up seeing either climate crisis at first hand or different phenomenons that are growing increasingly more and more throughout the year, extreme droughts or extreme rains. And this is something that has a very, very big impact in society, in culture, in pretty much everything, lifestyle. So I do think that the business has a responsibility as well. And I think this makes a perfect bridge to my next question. And it's that, do you think sustainability is essential for business right now?
100%. And I think it shouldn't be only a buzzword or, like greenwashing. Today, it's essential to business to be involved. Anyway, we know regulation are coming, so you better be prepared today, even if you don't want to. But also for your consumer, your user, you are doing product not for yourself or, to increase, your revenue. You are doing it also to make people love what you do.
Yes.
And then, it generates revenue. And nowadays, I think I was reading a recent survey that found that 73% of global consumers are willing to change their consumption habits to reduce environmental impact. 81% believe that companies should actually help in that sense as well. In Europe, we had a lot of regulation, and I think it's just going to increase. I think business that fail to adopt may find themselves really behind from a business legal perspective, but also consumer choices, because they are not going to be chosen by others. And sustainable practice are not only here to preserve. I mean, they are really an innovative thing, and we see it with Dots.eco, for instance. It's really an innovative way to get ad monetization, for instance, live ops events, and also build a real brand loyalty where people will favor your product. I think it's something, it's not only me and you passionate about it, it's 73% of global consumer, so it shouldn't be avoided.
Yes, absolutely. No, I think that makes total sense. And especially when you know that consumers are asking for it, I think it becomes not just a responsibility, but something that, all in all, what businesses want is for their business to succeed, right? So if they know that the consumers are asking for it, they need to find ways to integrate it in a way that is sustainable, literally, but also figuratively. It should work in the long term, right? Because it doesn't make sense that you will do one activity to plant 1,000 trees and then you never do that again, right? That for me is greenwashing. This is the core of greenwashing, and I think that this is the very big issue that so many companies are having right now, because they want to do good mainly for the business. They want to keep their KPIs good, rising, but they do it in a very simple way that makes it boost for 1 second. But then if they don't do it again, maybe the consumers keep on thinking that it's a sustainable company, but in reality, this is not the case. So I think that businesses also need to be very, very careful, because right now, as you said, there's more and more pressure coming here in the European Union. You must know much better than me that there is a lot of pressure coming for businesses, mostly bigger ones, but eventually it will come to the smaller ones. I also think that the big business have a bigger responsibility, of course, because they have a bigger footprint. But all in all, it comes to one person at a time. And if you start adding one plus one plus one, then you start creating the small businesses, the medium businesses, the large businesses, and all of them have a role to play, especially if the consumers are asking for it. Claire, with gaming, I'm super curious to know, because I think that the gaming industry right now, as you know, is huge. It's booming. It's becoming one of the largest industries out there. What do you think is the potential for the player's experience in blending real world with virtual worlds?
So I think there is huge potential, and I think Fortnite has been one of the main one. Like showing the direction. Several million have been raised across several live ops events that have been done dedicated to sustainability, but also a lot of actually Dots.eco clients, show the way, like Huga, Playtika. I absolutely loved, like the connections they made between like real world and actually the world you have in the game, in an area where we know that gaming is aiming to grow. People are aiming also to have a more and more UGC content. They want to have an impact in the real world. They want to have this green innovation. They want to have, like season pass, I don't know, with trees, that is a recurring event, and that is not just a one-time thing, basically. So I think there is a huge opportunity, and it has been proven to be successful. Now it's just a matter of having the good people at the right place to make it happen in the gaming industry that is still forecast to grow when you take a mobile, web, and also console. So I think we shouldn't give up, and we should also think about the new audiences that are coming in. South America is also one of those big audience, and I have a lot of friends there that care deeply about environment as well. And this is something you will need also to take into consideration when you make game, and when you want to make the good game for one of the most valuable and one of the biggest audience of the world that are now all the emerging markets.
Yes, 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 yes. You're super, super right. I was thinking here how it's a wave, right? If you see one gaming studio starting and then another and then another and then another, and then you have the big giants in the gaming industry starting to incorporate either environmental rewards or education, or in-game donations, which is something that, if I understand correctly, you are playing with your game, right? All of these raising awareness, education, bringing to light important information so for people to understand more. Then you start to see a wave with all the companies, right? And if all the companies start to do it, then you start seeing a macro impact. And I think this is why it's super cool to see the work that you're doing, for example, or that we are doing at Dots Eco, because then you realize that it can really have a strong impact. And this is something that there's nothing more. I don't know. For me, it's an incredible feeling to see that the impact is actually happening, or that the donations are actually going through. So I think when you see it at first hand, you can also connect so much better with the results themselves. For me, it's also very personal. I'm also a environmentalist, sustainable advocate. It's something that I also grew up with. So for me, it's very personal, and this is why I love this conversation. I love working for Dots and everything that has to do with giving back to the planet somehow. Claire, this is my favorite part of the podcast, actually. So it's jumping into the sustainable lifestyle of yours. I can imagine there are quite some things you bring in your day to day life, especially because of your upbringing. But I just want to ask you a bit, what steps do you take to incorporate small or big sustainable practices?
Yes, so first what I can say is that there is no small step, because if we all do a small step, it ends up being a big step. Like it's like when you politics, they tell you like if you don't vote, like there is no impact. It's not true. If everyone votes, there is an impact. So it's been a year now. I started to be vegetarian. I'm really honestly inspired by my sister. You know that my grand sister, she led the way, and I really also try a lot to take consideration into my footprint. I'm biking a lot, cycling, and I also try not to take too much the flight during the year. I just had my business. I'm not going to all the events. If the event is basically in LA, I will probably not go, and I will try to minimize this as much as I can. I think, you know, like tourism is also something hurting a lot the environment. So I try to minimize as much as I can on that front. And of course, with my games, I hope you know that there is also a lot of things that we can incorporate to make people have better habits, and like to stop to see all those bottles of water on the seas. Like I think Africa is receiving everything. I was in Brazil as well, it was the same. So I just want to decrease a bit.
And it's so easy, right? It's so easy to do a switch. It's just a matter of having the right mentality for it. But if you see all this plastic, which for me, by the way, it also bothers me so much, then it's like, why can't you just get a €1, €2? We had some technical issues, so the rest of the video will be without camera. Thanks for the understanding and keep on enjoying. It can even be so cheap, water bottle, and just reuse it over and over again instead of just disposing absolutely everything. There's nothing like a small step. If you start adding, it becomes a macro effect, macro impact. And I think that this is the most important thing when it comes down to sustainability. It's starting small, and then you start to see big results when it starts expanding, when you start educating others, when you start showing other people that there is another way, that it doesn't need to be everything unsustainable, everything the cheapest, everything, I don't know. And I also understand that with sustainability is expensive also in many cases. And I think that this is the burden that goes directly to the lower income countries, because they can't do the switches that high income countries can do. And then I think this is why there's also a bigger pressure for people like you and me, that we are living, me myself, I live in Italy and you are based in France. Then I think we have a bigger responsibility because there's more weight coming onto us. So I'm really happy to hear that you're taking all of these amazing steps. Even if it's something small, it has an impact.
Yes, all those things are having an impact. It's not small things, having your own little bottles. It change everything. Just reuse it. Have this mindset, and I think it's going to change things. And I think if we all do it, it can impact. Like even your podcast is having a really good impact, and I'm really excited actually because it reaches directly business, and business are also the one. You shared it, like privileged business are the one that can make this happen and can also influence the most people. So I'm also excited about this initiative.
Amazing. Claire, thank you so much. Just to wrap up, how can people get connected with you?
So we have a page Youthwave Games, or they can also reach me on LinkedIn on my personal profile. Always happy to speak about sustainability, about how we can improve the games, make it better for the planet, and I also have a Rozain Society, which is a community with a Slack group. So any of those places is a good place to reach out.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for the amazing conversation. I'm super, super happy that we could make it work, and I'm excited to see it go live.
Thank you so much, Isabella. It was a pleasure to be with
Mine too. Have a great day.
you. You too. Bye bye.